Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruby. This is Ruby Red, and today we're gonna play my TBR game, tic-tac-TBR. If you've never played before, it's very simple. I put 9 random prompts into a 3x3 grid at the beginning of the month, and then throughout that month, I try and read books that are gonna fulfill those prompts. And for every 3 in a row that I get by fulfilling prompts, I get a reward, which might make things easier the next month. If you want to play along in the comments, that's always welcome, or you can save the Google Sheets template that is linked in the description to your own Google Drive and adjust the prompts to better suit your needs. The playlist of all of these episodes is also linked below, and let's dive right in. All right, so here is the board for October. The prompts were TBR vet, Black author, African author, a used book, book with a red cover, a book with an urban setting, a book from Libby, a recently acquired book, and a mystery. So the other thing about October is that I committed to only reading classic books in the month. So my choices were limited. I also haven't been reading a ton the last couple of months as I'm still getting used to my new schedule and my new home, etc. My social calendar has been much more full than I'm used to, so it's definitely cutting into my reading time, but it's a welcome change. So the first prompt that I fulfilled by reading a book was mystery, and I read a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, The Mystery of Marie Roget, which was fine. It's the second installment in this sort of series of Detective Auguste Dupin mysteries. It's very Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was inspired by Dupin. And yeah, I really liked the first story about that detective, but the second one was just not as good to me, but I did read it, so there you go. And then the next book that I finished will fulfill 2 prompts. I read a book that fulfilled both the TBR vet and the red cover prompt. And I finished it on October 31st at about 9:30 p.m. And that is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, which was a book from my 30 by 30 list. I was buddy reading it with Lizzie from Lizzie's Literary Life, and yeah, it's been on my TBR since 2020. And there are a few editions that have red, a significant amount of red on the cover. So, counting it, because that means I get a 3 in a row, even though I only read 2 books. So that's a victory, and I actually didn't think about the red cover option until I sat down to film this. So I thought that I was going to be getting no rewards, and now suddenly I'm getting a reward. What a thrill. So let's pick my reward. Okay, so for my reward, I have 10 reward options. Let's see which one we got. A reading day. Oh, that's exciting. This is kind of a new one for me, and it's also sort of inspired by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading, who we're going to talk about a lot in just a minute. This is kind of inspired by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading, who we are going to talk about again in a second. But for Bailey's TBR game, I think one of her rewards for finishing a round is that she gets a reading day where she gets to, I don't know, it fits a day off work or have a babysitter for the day and just read. So for me, what this reward entails is just to kind of force myself to set aside a day and make sure that I fulfill my obligations for that day in advance so that I don't have any guilty feelings about just literally reading for the whole day. So I'm gonna try and schedule this soon. I do have a couple of projects that I'm working on in the next week or so, but then after that I think maybe I'll have a weekend where we don't have any visitors coming, and I'll be able to hopefully spend a whole day reading, which would be great. A little bit of housekeeping before we jump into the prompts though. Last month I was reading only classics. That was really fun, and then I've set myself a different challenge for this month, which is to play Bailey's TBR game, Jokes on Me. So I'm gonna link her playlist down below. She's been playing for over a year, I think, and is gonna continue playing next year. And it's a game where she plays to read books off of her own physical TBR, her bookshelves, and read that down to a lower number because she's got a lot of books that she hasn't read. And I have some books I haven't read, but not a ton of them. I'm not overwhelmed by it, but I did think it would be fun to play this game. I actually made the board for her, again, like I think more than a year ago, and I've wanted to play around kind of ever since then, but it was never the right time. So November is the right time. I'm playing Jokes on Me. A bunch of our friends are also doing it. Martine from Just Martine is gonna play. Ashley from A Fiction and Fantasy, Lizzie's Literary Life, I think, Kayla Ray Reads, like everybody's out here. We're all playing Bailey's game in November. So I'm gonna be playing that game. I'm only committing myself to doing 1 episode worth of Jokes on Me, which is just however far you can move around the board with 3 card flips. And we'll see if I want to keep playing after that or how long it takes me to complete those, whatever. If you want to know more about how that game works, you're gonna have to check out Bailey's videos, or I will be posting a video eventually, but who knows when that's gonna be. Just being real. So that's what's up for November. I also am starting a Realm of the Elderlings read along with some friends. I've already read the first 6 books in that 16-book adventure, and I really love them, but I just wish that I had some people who are reading them alongside me to talk about, because me and Connor have been talking about the Ship of Magic series together, and that's been really fun. But now Connor's going back and reading the first Farseer trilogy, and so I'm gonna read that again too with some friends. So I'm rereading, who knows how long it will take us, how far we'll get, etc. But I'm planning to read Assassin's Apprentice this month, and I'm also gonna read the Shelf This Book Club book, which is a Nora Roberts Dance in the Air, something like that. I don't remember, but I've got it coming to me from Libby. So those are 2 books that I have committed to reading this month. And now let's generate our prompts. Okay, our first prompt is most recently added on Goodreads. Oh my gosh. Let's see what it is. Okay, so the most recently added book on my Goodreads TBR is Mammoths at the Gates by Nevo, which is the 4th book in the Singing Hill cycle, but I am not going to be reading that or trying to read it until January for Squash That series. Then I have How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly. That's an arc that I just was approved for, so I could read that. Or the 3rd most recently added is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I want to read. So let's say one of those 3 is gonna count for my most recently added on Goodreads, because those are the 3 most recent. So I'm giving myself a little wiggle room as usual. Any of those books would count. Our next prompt is an author I've read from before. So that seems like I could count Assassin's Apprentice because I've read lots of Robin Hobb before. I do like that prompt because it's pretty open, and that is exactly what I need going into this month after feeling so limited last month. Our next prompt is Oldest on TBR. I hate this one. So let's reverse my TBR. I always just refer to my Goodreads TBR because that's more accurate. And I'm gonna say it could be any of these 6 books that I added in 2019, which was the first year I started using Goodreads again. One of them is a Vincent Bugliosi, who I've read from before. The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Genovese. That's a 30 by 30 book, I think. And I have read most of his other books, all of his other books. Those are the 2 oldest. There's a few others. Disoriental, The Collected Schizophrenias, Freedom from the Known. Should I even read that? I don't know. It's so short, I might as well. So there's a few options, but as you can maybe tell, I'm not that excited about any of them because that's the nature of things that have been on your TBR for a long time. You know what I mean? You're not as excited about them as you once were. Okay, let's pick our next prompt. An audiobook. That's perfect. I got 2 downloaded already for the month. One of them is The Assassin's Apprentice. But yeah, I'm ready to get back into my audiobook game. So that one will definitely fulfill. It's happening. I don't want to spoil anything because I do already have my first 3 jokes flips. I did them last night. So some things came out of that. I keep generating oldest on TBR. Let's go again. Okay, intimidating. Oh no. Okay. That usually means big. But it could also be some of these books have just been on my mind for a while, but I've become intimidated by them. I'm intimidated by Flights by Olga Tokarczuk just because it's quite big and it seems like there's a lot going on. And I'm quite intimidated by The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule, but I just got a copy of that for my birthday. So those are some options, but I'm making no promises. Sorry. Okay, next prompt. When do I ever make promises here? Fantasy. Oh, that's fun. So that could be Emily Wilde's book, Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies. Also Assassin's Apprentice. I don't have a double up, so I don't know why I keep bringing that one up, but I've got it. So that's a fantasy. I actually think the shelf this book, what is it called? I'm so sorry, I forgot. Let me see if I can just find it. Nora Roberts' Dance Upon the Air. So I think that has a magical element to it. So that's also could fulfill that prompt. That's a nice, generous, gentle prompt. Okay. Next we have Black Author. This is one that I was unfortunately not able to complete last month, but this month I'm much more optimistic because I have a lot more freedom with what I'm reading. And I do have 2 books on my shelf, which again, joke's on me, is very shelf driven, that are very highly anticipated by Black authors. So once again, it's James Baldwin and also The Monsters We Defy by Leslie Penelope. I started reading that ages ago and then I had to put it down for Wonderthon. So I would love to be able to pick it back up and finish it. That's another fantasy option as well. Let's move on to our next prompt. Pink cover. A book with a pink cover. I think the Nora Roberts book has a pink cover. Maybe it's purpley. What has a pink cover? Well, all the way on the end of that shelf I have a pink book that is a book of poetry. It's quite pink, but I'll have to shout out my friend Danielle from Danielle Reads, who's reading a lot of pink books this year, and see if she's got any recommendations. I do have a few ARCs actually that have a pink cover. I think, why don't we consult my own TBR? Yeah, I have The Marigold by Andrew Sullivan, which has a lot of pink on the cover. Here for the Wrong Reasons by Lydia Wang is a romance that I have an ARC for that also has a pink cover. So those are the pink owned books. But maybe I'll be able to find something else too. Who knows? Wow, we can read anything, but also we can't. So complicated. Okay, and our final prompt is prompt 80, which is the final prompt. Oh, and it's Libby because I didn't shuffle. That's okay. So, okay, those are the prompts. Most recently added on Goodreads, author from read from before, oldest on TBR, an audiobook, an intimidating book, a fantasy, Black author, pink cover, and Libby. And I get a reading day. Those are the prompts. As always, I offer a couple of ideas about what I might read, but I'm always open to suggestions and recommendations down below. I really appreciate it, especially for the ones that are not like me specific, like oldest on my TBR. And I'm really excited to play jokes, so hopefully me hyping it up in this video will ensure that I actually follow through with posting that video. So I think we're gonna have a good month. I'm really excited about November. Something about it, it just feels like it's gonna be a good time. So thanks for stopping by, thanks for watching, thanks for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope I will see you back here sometime before the end of the month for another video. I said it before, I'll say it again. I want to be posting again. I just have to post again. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.